Good evening and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dressick. This is your other host.
You pointed in the right direction. Christina Fasonic. And how are you this evening, Damian? Guess I could just look at you and ask.
I'm very tired.
Yeah, me as well. It's been a long teaching day, a long day in the teaching minds, I guess. So tonight we have a new writer on. Would you like to tell people about her?
We have an excellent representative of the Carlow University MFA program. KJ Bryant is a recent graduate of Carlow's MFA in creative writing. She's been published in Pittsburgh Magazine, Pittsburgh Quarterly, Table Magazine, and some other places. She is currently looking for a publisher for her debut novel.
Reclaiming Grace.
I thought I was going to let her tell us that.
Okay. Sorry.
You
spoiled it all. Yeah, didn't I?
Spoiled it. She also helps out in marketing Carlow's program. Maybe if we're lucky, she's going to tell us a little bit. She's going to give us the inside skinny on Carlow's upcoming 20th.
Yeah. We want to hear about that. We are big fans of Carlow. All right. Hello.
Good evening.
Hi. I'm so excited to be with you guys.
We're happy to have you.
I have been a fan of WANA Live and the organization for a long time. Love seeing you at all the conferences. And Damian, I'm a member of the Battle of Homestead Foundation, and we enjoyed having you do reading from 40 Patchtown. So
thank you. I just saw that you were involved in that. I was looking for something the other day, and I was like, oh, well, look at that. That is a wonderful organization. I was so grateful to have the opportunity to read and to talk a little bit about 40 Patchtown and the coal strike. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what will you be reading from this evening?
Well, I'm going to read a short snippet from my debut novel, Reclaiming Grace. And it's not at the very beginning, so I'm going to give everybody just a little bit of an overview of what the book is about. So that'll help frame things a little bit, I think.
All right. So we're going to disappear, let you do that, and give your reading, and we'll pop back in a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Wow. Great to be with everybody. Thank you for being here. Reclaiming Grace is a novel about the impact of buried history on a town and a people. It takes place in the early 1990s in Creed Creek, a fictional declining mining town in southern West Virginia. The inhabitants are descendants of the miners who fought and lost the 1921 Battle of Blair Mountain. This is a real historical event, the largest armed insurrection in the United States other than the Civil War. Until recently, this history has been suppressed even from the descendants of those who fought and paid the price. So my book is not about the Battle of Blair Mountain, but it's about the descendants. So one of the plots in the book is a family tragedy that leaves a married couple dead and their teenage daughter an orphan. And Sheriff Robert Mulrooney, who I'm going to introduce you to tonight, he has ties to the community that go back generations, as most of the people in this novel do. He loves his town. He needs to understand how this tragedy has happened. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of him and the town through his eyes. And we pick up the sheriff midway in a scene. He's been roaming through the town in an unsuccessful search for puzzle pieces, trying to understand this tragedy. Sheriff Robert Mulrooney hadn't thought he'd find out much, but he wasn't one to skip over the obvious. Plus, it was the right thing to do, show up to the church meeting to raise money to bury Clem and Aurelia, put a few bucks in the basket. He even offered to take the deposit to the bank for Elizabeth, and she gladly accepted. At the bank, he made an anonymous donation, an amount that would actually help bury those poor souls. His next stop, Clem's best friend, Rufus Jones. He found him on his porch alone, nursing a beer. Come to talk to the boys? Rufus asked. No game tonight. They're all down at some meeting. About what? Rufus raised his hands like he was keeping the sky from falling down. Some legal brouhaha about Squirrel Mountain, the coal company, the reclamation process. That's still going on? How hard is it to plant some grass and trees? It's not a park that folks are concerned about, Rufus said. Their well waters turned to shit. Some attorneys all hot under the collar. Tainted, he said. The company says it's not their fault. On top of that, somebody's got a petition going around about a rare salamander. Somebody else got dead chickens. Rufus paused, then moved his head back and forth, struggling like he was moving an anvil. Dead children, he said. That'll be next. How come you're not with them? I just don't have the heart for it right now, after all this. Rufus stared down at the porch, his boot pushing on a loose board. Yep, Mulroney said, tight-lipped. Rufus leaned against the porch railing, looking older than his 57 years. He was one of the lucky ones. His lungs were holding strong, his hair was white and thinning, but still there. His UMWA pension allowed him to travel to California once a year to see his kids and grandkids. Not enough, but not bad, except for losing his wife to cancer some years back. Rufus pulled out a cold Stroh's from the cooler and handed it to Mulroney. He received it with a nod, then flipped the lid off using the bottle opener mounted on the porch railing. He sipped it slowly. I let him down, Rufus said. Clem was a friend of mine. Seems like all the bad that could befall a man fell on him. He paused, looked around like he was trying to make sense of his friend's bad fortune, and the wife, and the girl. Mulroney was patient. He knew Rufus couldn't resist filling the quiet void. If anyone could offer some insight into what would make Clem a good man by everyone's assessment, murder his wife so brutally and then get his head blown off by his own child, it should be his best friend. I've seen a lot in my time, Rufus said. The mind-breaking men, killing men, families splintering, moving away. But this? Know of any bad blood between them, Ruf? Nah. Of course, I haven't spent time with Clem for nigh onto a year. Rufus bit his lip and traced the loose board with his boot. Mulroney nodded, sipped his beer, and scanned the quiet street, silently cursing the distance folk gave each other in their darkest days. I tossed $5 into the basket, Rufus said. Best I could do. Don't seem like enough. Then he started talking about all the men he knew who had died or been injured in the mine over the last 35 years. It was like a bard singing the first of what Mulroney knew would be too many stanzas. He didn't have the patience to hang around and listen to Rufus get maudlin. If anyone has anything I should know, Ruf, tell him to stop in and see me. Thanks for the beer. Mulroney headed back to the station, driving through his town, just a solitary stretch of road containing the post office and bank, both sharing a roof in a one-story, two-room brick building. Then the diner, the church, a sundry store with 2 gas pumps, and the bar. The highway turned off onto Main Street with tiny gunshot houses lined up in neat rows, swings on their porches, Creed Creek running through their backyards. It was all contained in a 2-square-mile section in the flats, which sprouted even smaller roads leading up into the hollers. He only traveled those if trouble called. If Mulroney had ever wanted a bit more civilization, he could take the U.S. Route 49 to Williamson, running north and south, parallel to the Tug River and along the Norfolk Southern Rail route. There it would bow to U.S. 52. From there he could get to wider roads that would take him to larger roads that would lead him to the rest of the world. He never traveled those. Where would he go? Why? Before he turned to the station, he drove through the flats, passing one house after another, each with a drama hidden behind the door. He didn't need anyone to fill him in. He knew their stories in his bones. It was his inheritance, not memories as much as faint handprints on a cave wall. His aunt had told him when he was a boy that he moved his body like her pappy, long gone, good hair like his uncle. He had the shy but not withered personality of that side of her family, the space between his teeth from that other side. Nothing concrete. But when he sipped his coffee in Jimmy's diner and listened to the chatter, drank a cold one at the cavern, and felt the jesters jostling around him, whenever he stopped troublesome young men in an alley about to explode, his nerve ends twittered like Morse code, and without knowing the specifics, he could feel he was part of a story they all shared. Thank you.
Oh, geez, we almost disappeared. Thank you so much for that reading. I'm so glad to hear that you're focusing on this time period and this era. And like you said, until very recently, the last couple of decades, we really didn't understand what had happened at the Battle of Blair Mountain and the aftermath of it. The idea that our own government, our federal government, turned their sights on U.S. citizens who were just trying to fight for survival, for the jobs that they were doing, dangerous jobs that they were doing. And so I look forward to reading more of this story in the future.
Great.
And thank you for covering it.
Yeah, I really love the small town feel. It's something that I remember a publisher a few years ago, Main Street Rag down in North Carolina, did a thing called Dots on the Map, and they were all these sort of small town stories. And I love the personal perspective of the sheriff and how, the eyes through which he sees the town as this lifelong resident. I really love the way you brought that to life.
Thank you. And I have to just let you know that there's going to be another perspective, a sociologist from New York who comes down, and we see that whole area through her eyes as well. And I think that's what helps to make this a bit unique. So it's not just through the sheriff's eyes, but we see that, clatter when they meet different cultures looking at each other and missing each other completely.
Right.
Well,
right.
That's risky storytelling, I have to say, because given the history of, people coming into Appalachia and misrepresenting us, misunderstanding us, exploiting us, it'll be interesting to see how you handle that kind of a character.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's why I needed an outsider to tell the story. I even though I spent 5 years researching and building wonderful relationships in southern West Virginia with the West Virginia Mine Wars Museum and historians and just great people, I still felt like, well, I'm a Pittsburgh girl and I'm writing about another area, and I needed this outsider who came in and did a lousy job of understanding what she was seeing. But it was that coming to terms with that lousy job where she really gained some insights. And so a little risky, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's what literature is for, right?
Yeah.
If we all did the boring thing or the plain thing or the expected thing, nobody would read what we wrote. What would be the point?
Yeah. I agree.
Do you have anything else to add before we go to the comments, David?
Well, I like the fact that I feel like sometimes in Appalachian literature that deals with industry, there is this artificial and yet kind of almost inviolable for a lot of writers boundary between this is the time of prosperity, this is the time of environmental damage. And it's like, that, back, like looking at the 50s and 60s as, or particularly as, this, but I like the way you brought the environmental damage and health damage front and center. I thought that was important to do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I
Unless
mean,
it's something that just happened much later.
yeah, you miss the whole thing if you don't weave in those threads, because then it's just not authentic. That's part of their history. It's part of the future, actually, to deal with all of that.
Well, even today, sometimes people know that their jobs are killing them, but they still do it anyway because they feel like they don't have a choice.
And they don't have a choice, unfortunately, or they could leave like many people did in that area. And that's sad because they had generations of a connection to the land and to that area. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a lot of comments.
Yeah, there's lots of comments over here.
Oh, great.
Bonnie Proudfoot, hey Bonnie, says, wonderful reading. So enjoyed the connection between history and character.
Great.
And sometimes history becomes a character.
Mm.
Beautiful reading, KJ. This is from Michael Lockett.
Hey,
I love
Michael.
your work. Oh, he gave you a heart.
Michael. Love it.
He was on our show not too long ago.
And I was watching and commenting. Yes. Oh, there's Donna. Hey, Donna.
Says, wonderful and important work, Karen. Great reading.
Oh, thank you.
And Sahara in Dallas says, that was wonderful. Too many stanzas. Great.
Thank you, Sahara.
And Barbara Goldberg also made a comment. She says, great reading. So,
hi, Barb. Lovely.
I think that's the consensus tonight. This was an excellent reading, and you're still looking for a publisher at this point, right?
Yeah, I'm actually starting out looking for an agent, so we'll see how that works. But I thank you so much for inviting an unpublished writer to read on your wonderful show. So I much appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
Well, best of luck in your search.
I'll keep you in the loop.
Super cool.
Okay.
So you wanted to tell us a little bit about something that's getting ready to happen at Carlow, right?
Yeah, like I just graduated from the Carlow MFA program, fabulous program, but I'm hanging around and doing a little marketing and special events support, because the program is kicking off its 20th anniversary in 2024 at our January residency. And we have big plans. I can't get into too much detail because we haven't launched it yet. But there's going to be not only within the Carlow community, but we're going to open it up to the public. Pittsburgh has such a rich literary community.
Yes.
And, we feel very honored to be part of that. And we want to open the doors and provide some great opportunities. We're going to be bringing in some top name readers. Oh my gosh, I think you're going to be very excited when I'm allowed to say who. And also some workshops that people can participate in and get a little taste of, our mentors that that the MFA program has been so fortunate to work with, and see our alums. I mean, every time I go to a reading, there's some Carlow alum who's reading, and it's very encouraging. So stay tuned. We'll be sending out some media releases soon, and I'll make sure you guys are in the loop again on all of that. But some big things happening, big things for Carlow in 2024.
Excellent. And before we go, I believe you are doing a reading coming up.
I am. I'm going to be reading with the F-Bomb series tomorrow evening. It used to be for a very long time pre-pandemic. It was in the KGB bar in New York City. It is now global. Paul Beckman is the host of that. So I'll be reading with the F-Bomb, and I'll be joined by Pedro Ponce and Francine Witt. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Is that going to be online that we can?
It will be. If I cannot post the whole link, but it'll be Zoom. So shoot me an email, and we will be. We'll let the WANA, the collective membership will want to know how to.
Absolutely great. Oh, wonderful.
Before we go, I think I have to post this very last comment. We have somebody watching from Ireland.
Oh my gosh, it's one of our fabulous Irish mentors, Jean O'Brien. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for watching, Jean. I think we've had people watch from England, but now WANA's really gone international.
Oh, well, you know, that's one of the great things about Carlow MFA program. We do half of our residency in Ireland with Irish mentors. And
I've heard a lot about that being a fantastic part of the program.
Oh my gosh. It's not just a travel thing. You get to work with them throughout the semester. They are your mentors then. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's very cool.
Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you so much for making time to read for us.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah, good night, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.